Hey, welcome to the Mental Health Takeaways podcast, the male mental health podcast. Today, this week, this episode is lifting the lid on psychotherapy. I'm just going to have to explain that my dog is here and on screen. Like, say hi for the likes, Cappy. Good boy. Because he gets discussed a lot in this recording, and the benefit of the whole process of owning a dog and getting outside. But when I say that this episode lifts the lid on psychotherapy and explains a little bit about what it is, we have a phenomenal guest that comes on and explains what that word actually means. Brad, who is this phenomenal guest that comes on?
So on this episode, we welcome a guest called Nicola Euesden, who is a humanistic integrative therapist, psychotherapist. And she has got some really great insights for us as the show goes on. We talk lots of things. We talk about the importance of getting out there and connecting with others and nature, and perhaps leaving our phones in boxes out the way a little bit more. But there's so many great tips throughout the episode of things that you can start doing as soon as you've listened to this episode. So I think it's another great episode, and hopefully you will too.
And two more quick things before we actually give you the goods. One is that a personal overshare for me. I can remember in a point of some significant distress at one point in my life, just shouting back at a particular person, I don't know, maybe I need to go and see a psychotherapist. And I had no idea what a psychotherapist was at the time. I just knew that I felt like I needed somebody to get deep into what was the root cause of the problems that I was experiencing at the time. And so you get to find out a bit about what that is, or what psychotherapy is in that regard. And also, just to really quickly say, Nicola's Instagram, she's from Turning Point Counselling Services, so that will be linked in the show notes. If you want to get in touch with Nicola, we hear her talk about the mental health walks that she does and the services that she offers. And if anybody wants to get in touch with her, you can find that all in the show notes attached to this episode. But that's all we'll say about that. And Brad, here comes the show.
Here it is.
Nicola, thanks ever so much. Welcome to the Mental Health Takeaways podcast. We also start in a slightly unusual way, right, in that we're aware that there's this mantra that almost gets repeated that men find it difficult to talk about mental health, and that mental health is such a difficult subject for people to talk about. So we always ask our guests about something that's easy to talk about instead. And what we choose is takeaway orders. So if you were going to have an actual takeaway, what would your takeaway be?
Probably an Indian.
Oh,
yeah.
So we're lucky tonight. I've had my dinner, so I'm not going to be starving hungry as we talk through that.
There's not even a probably. It's an Indian, yeah.
Okay, and is there a particular dish you'd go for? Maybe
a biryani or chicken korma.
And would you ever branch out from that, or are you pretty much faithful to your regular dishes?
Pretty faithful for that, yeah. I don't like anything too spicy.
But so you don't like anything too spicy, but you would go a curry nevertheless?
Well, with the biryani, you get the vegetable curry, don't you, with it? So you can have a little bit in, not too much.
And side dishes, which are, as far as I'm concerned, the best bit?
Onion bhajis.
Yes.
And I like saag paneer with the cheese, spinach and jam.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm scribbling all this down as if we're actually going to order it for you.
Oh, right. So we're not. That's not the plan.
Well, I mean, in virtual podcasting world, this is getting dialed in immediately. But in reality, I don't even actually know where you live, Nicola. But I'm
in Loughton, so Essex.
Oh, okay. Good curry houses around there?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, well, they'll be pleased to hear it, I imagine.
Yeah.
And is that just you having that? Are you takeaways for a special occasion kind of person, or are you just get to the end of the week and think, do you know what, I'm not cooking tonight, I'll just get a takeaway? What's the story?
Probably don't want to cook. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a treat though, Friday or a Saturday normally.
Okay, so that's the takeaway order locked in and everybody
Yes, that's
made to
fine.
feel at ease. One thing our listeners won't know too much about
Yeah.
is what you're here for and why we've invited you on. And there's something that Brad and I have had to have a little chat with ourselves beforehand and say, we're going to ask you about your career, basically. And to the listeners that aren't aware of Nicola, she's is it psychotherapist? That's
Psychotherapist, yeah.
the full sum of your job title.
Yeah.
And Brad and I have already had to say, right, we'll ask her about that. And when she starts telling us, we'll have to not interrupt, because we've both got pages of questions about what that involves. But we're going to try to just give you the floor and explain what psychotherapy is, how you got involved in it, and what it actually looks like. Because I think there's a slight mystery around what psychotherapy actually is.
Yeah, there is. The type of psychotherapy I'm basically qualified in is called a humanistic integrative psychotherapist.
Okay.
So when it's humanistic integrative, basically, if a client comes to me and they say, "Oh, I just can't, I'm having trouble, at work, or I'm, don't feel like I'm getting on with my partner," and they'll describe to me a feeling they're having, I'll say, with it being a humanistic integrative, I'll say, "Where are you feeling it in your body?" So I will help a client link up. Oh, that's why I'm getting a bad belly. That's why I'm getting my headache behind my eyes, and basically help them to work on that, because obviously, and look at what triggers they're experiencing.
And are they able to pinpoint that themselves, or do you help to uncover that for them? Because I don't know that I would be present enough to be like, oh, okay, it's here. I don't know that I'd be able to do that as a client. But do you help them find that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I would say if you came to me and you said to me, I'm feeling really stressed at work and I'm not being, I'm not being, I can't eat, and so I would say, well, where are you feeling it? And so I've had clients that they could not eat at certain times. They would just say, well, I just can't even get any food down. So like their throat would be restricting them. And with this sort of psychotherapy, basically counselling will look at more of a quick fix. So you would work at something out quickly. Psychotherapy, you dig deeper, you delve, and we go back to how you felt about food as a child, say, if that was your feeling with stress. So for psychotherapy, basically, we go deeper.
That's fascinating. I don't think this theory is confirmed, but everyone that I've spoken to that's connected to it kind of would agree. Brad, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go into my backstory a tiny bit, but we won't be here for ages. I had an episode of what was described as complex trauma. So like one bad thing and then lots of other little bad things around that one bad thing. And then a while after that, I developed an autoimmune form of asthma. And I then got in touch with an autoimmune talking therapy charity who were all of the same opinion that the care they received from the NHS was fantastic, but nobody said, how do you feel? Nobody asked that question at any point. And lots of them were convinced that there was a traumatic backstory to the onset of their autoimmune condition. Is autoimmune stuff, do you come across autoimmune conditions as part of your work? Because it affected my breathing.
Yeah, it would do. Well, say if it's affecting your breathing, for me, if we're working together, I would work as that.
I'm not trying to get a free session out of you, by the way.
Fine. I would work at that with, okay, what do you need to say? That feels to me like the unsaid. Like, so somebody who would get chronic sore throats or maybe need their tonsils out, they'd say anything in the throat is the unsaid.
Wow.
Yeah? So it's just stopping you saying it. So I would say your breathing would be, it's the unsaid, and you're having trouble getting it out, so it's going to affect the asthma feeling.
I am fascinated. Brad, I can tell you're
Well,
fascinated as well.
yeah, I am. Yeah, I can. I could see your little face, Nibbo, as well. It was like the sort of mind blown emoji then as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Is there like
Uh,
steam coming out the top of my
Yeah.
head?
No,
it's really interesting. One of the things that sprung to my mind listening to you talk was not too long ago we had a guest on the show called Aaron, and he talked about qigong, and he was really interested in Eastern medicines as opposed to Western methods, and he spoke about how in Eastern medicine they attach illness and is attached to different places. So like that nervousness and that anxiety, our stomach is the organ that holds that. And it kind of sounds like this ties in with that.
yeah.
Am I sort of on the right lines there?
Yes, definitely. I mean, obviously, illnesses like cancer, where it is in your body, they could say it's through emotional experiences. So stomach, they say is where we're holding it in. That could be relationship, trauma. Cancer's in another part of the bodies. They'll say, well, that's because you were holding trauma from years ago. When people have soldiers have PTSD, they could actually have it in, problems with their legs because their legs are trying to stop them maybe going back to war, or it's like your body's going like, no, that's enough now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to your body's saying you better listen now, and if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to show you why you need to listen.
I'm going to reference another episode, Brad, that we've had, and it was Colin's one. He was a guest of ours who had some time off work with stress, and he woke up in the early hours of one morning and had what his wife recognised as a panic attack, and he was saying to us that, and this is quite sort of jocular, but he was saying it's such a shame that the body needs that great big input and signal and sign for us to take notice of it and for us to stop. And he wanted it to be like, couldn't there just be like a little fart or a little burp that tells you like, okay, you need to stop? And we were screaming at him on the recording of like, there are those little signs.
There are.
But I feel as if in the 21st century, we're just programmed to override those and keep going and not pay attention to our body. So is paying attention to our body a bit more of, like, is there preventative stuff that people could do before they get to the stage where you're helping them?
Well, I mean, anything you could do, maybe walking in nature, meditation, anything that will anything that's going to take you out of your life, say, somewhere else for 20 minutes, I believe, a day can help. Because when we have a panic attack, that is basically our internal alarm system going, wake up. You are not coping. You are working too hard. You are not in the right relationship. You maybe are drinking too much. So the panic attack is your internal alarm system. So yeah, it does feel strong and scary, but it's needed, isn't it?
It's supposed to, yeah. I'm smiling because my preventative measure is asleep in his dog bed next to me. I've got a new puppy, and so I had a dog previously, and I haven't had a dog for a couple of years, and I'm really noticing now, because it's not optional. You have to get out and walk the dog. That is just something that has to happen. And I know Brad's walked his dog earlier today as well. It's just, I'm so pleased that I got him. I'm so pleased that there is a reason. Because I could have walked out the door and gone for a walk at any point, but there was no driver. Whereas now, the fact that his little waggy tail needs to be heading off outside, that means we need to go outside.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say, if I walk out of my house, and I will walk through the roads, but as you get to the end of my road, there's like a natural park with a lake. I feel my body calm the minute I get to this certain piece of grass, because I'm aware of it now. So the other bit of the walk was fine, but it's when I get to the green and nature is when I basically can think, oh, now this is good for me.
That's so lovely. So lovely. How long have you been doing it, Nicola?
Walking
Well,
in
well,
nature.
actually, yeah, we need to get onto the walking stuff as well, don't we? Of course.
Mm, mm.
But how long have you been a psychotherapist
I qualified in 1999.
and never had any thoughts of stepping outside of it? It's been something that you've been,
No,
not just involved in, but
yeah,
passionate about ever
no, it's
since.
literally my dream job.
That's so lovely.
It doesn't feel like work at all. I love it.
And what you were saying about going for walks, that leads us so well into, is it right you support nature walks
Hmm.
near to you, but like you provide psychotherapy support to
Yeah,
that walking group? Could
yeah,
you tell us a tiny bit about that?
yeah. We started those. I work with Jeff Brazier on those. We started those probably 4 years ago in lockdown,
Okay.
and so it actually worked well with me first of all as well because when I could walk and talk with clients when you weren't actually allowed to sit in.
Oh,
So
clever.
that's when I incorporated walk and talk with my clients because nobody could tell you couldn't do that. So that I really built up that side of it in the lockdown. And Jeff had seen that people were really struggling with not being able to, connect. So we started doing the walks, and they've just grown and grown, and they are incredible. It is literally the best thing I do with my week. It's so spiritually uplifting to bring people together that guys that will come on their own. We get one guy, he's an autistic guy, he comes all the way from Croydon just to come on the walk. I think it's about 25 buses and trains to get to where we are. But people get so much out of it, it's wonderful.
I've got two questions I really want to ask you about that.
Right.
The first one, I'll do the short one first. Is there a structure to it? Like, is it a case of? So I've been to a couple of things called Talk Club, which
Hmm.
I think is more southwest based. It started off in Bristol, but
Yeah.
there's a structure of like we sit in a circle. There are rounds of how do you feel out of 10? What are you grateful for? What are you going to do for
Mm.
your mental health this week? So there's those structured rounds.
Yeah.
And then previously on the podcast, we spoke to a guy called Dan Reed, who set up something called Men Walking and Talking, which was just he felt like he needed to get out and have a walk. He put it all over as much social media as he could, that he was going to go for a mental health walk, like a men's mental health walk this week. And he was joined by one person. And he's so thankful because from there it's grown and they have, let's say, Brad, like 411 men per week
400. Yep.
walk with that group. So do you
Brilliant.
have, but they don't have a structure. They just have talk about your mental health if you want to, don't if you don't want to,
Mm.
just come and walk. Do you have a
Yeah.
structure or do you just, what's yours?
Well, I think our structure is basically turn up and Jeff will introduce what we do, we're here, hopefully we'll have a nice walk together and he'll say, Nicola's here. If there's anything more serious you'd like to talk about, then he makes a joke and says, don't worry, if you get talking to her, no one's going to be pointing, going, oh, you're the one with the problem.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that at my work. So
Really?
where I work, I'm a mental health first aider.
Yeah.
And you just get a little bit aware that if someone sees me sat in my office with another colleague, there's that slight stigma
Yeah,
around
of
like,
course.
oh, who's Matt having to have a chat with? So we'll always go out somewhere. Sorry,
Yeah.
carry on.
Perfect, yeah. So then we will start off on our walk. Basically, yesterday we did a long walk, so it's normally about 5K. So we'll walk through the forest. We'll then stop off, normally we'll get into groups and maybe Jeff would say, okay, yesterday it was like, what are you struggling with? What's been good this week, basically, and what's you're struggling with. So, and we get into groups of 4. I mean, because we can have anything up to, we've had nearly 400 people, and our regular,
Wow.
I reckon our regular size is 100.
Wow.
Yeah, but we started. Sometimes we've been on walks before. There's been me, Jeff, and 3 other people in the beginning. So it's just grown and grown, which is lovely.
Of course, yeah.
But what I think what I find incredible, and is the best thing for me to see, is the friendships that are made out of it. You've got people that are so lonely, or their family have moved away, or they haven't really got the friends that live near them, and they're making new friendships every week. Like I've got a memory of a lady turned up one day, and I said, "Oh, I just saw your friend. She's just I think she's parking." She said, "Oh no, she won't be here today. She's working." And I said, "Oh, how long have you known each other?" And she said, "Oh no, we met here." And honestly, you would think these women have been friends 20 years. But
Lovely.
she said they met on the walk. They've both been widowed. They're both widows, and they now met for lunch, and we're like firm friends. So you just think it's incredible. But honestly, I've had people that they've sort of turned up and they're not sure if they're going to stay because they feel quite nervous. Obviously, it's brave, isn't it? Going somewhere new,
Of course, yeah.
Don't know anyone, and I've had to sort of, there's people sort of been behind trees thinking, "Oh, should I?" Come on up. And he said, "Oh, are you here for the walk?" And they're like, "Well, I think I'm going to." But no, honestly, it's amazing.
I can recognise that feeling of getting to a thing that you intended to go to and thinking,
yeah,
maybe I could turn around, maybe I could just go back. And I think there's so much in that idea of fringe benefits. Like, I would never go to a walk like that if it had said, "Come and make friends." Like that, that phrase would have scared the life out of me.
Yeah, interesting.
But making friends being a fringe benefit of like, just come and have a walk, and we've got a structure, and we can work within that structure. And the idea of, oh, now I'm not under any pressure to make friends. Now I can make friends because I can socialize quite freely. My other question was, when you said about with your clients how you would walk and talk with them. This wasn't meant to be a recap episode of all of our previous episodes, but we had a previous episode where a guy called Zani was riding a tandem bicycle. He'd been bereaved by suicide, and he was riding a tandem bicycle around the coastline of the British Isles, and he was joined by other people that had had similar experiences to him. And he said that another fringe benefit really was he discovered that being one in front of the other on that tandem was such a useful way for the people behind him to feel like they could open up and have that conversation, because it wasn't that eye-to-eye, front-on, slightly confrontational approach. Did you notice a difference in your sessions where you started doing the walking and talking versus your pre-COVID sessions of however you ran those pre-COVID sessions?
Well, they say motion releases emotion, and like you're saying, you're walking next to each other. There's things that somebody will tell you. Well, that happens within my work anyway. But I've had complete revelations come to clients as you're walking. One lady just remembered that her dad, severely attacked her mum when she was 5, but she'd never thought, hang on, I was 5 when that happened. Because I would then say to a client, right, so do you know any 5-year-olds? And she'd say, oh yeah, my neighbour's little girl's 5. What do you think that would feel like if something like that happened to her? And we had to stop the walk, and just sit on a bench for a bit, because it was just so much. She just had not even considered it ever.
So powerful, though, isn't it? It's such a it's revolutionary, and I was thinking of it as being really new and progressive. But in actual fact, probably that's wisdom that, as a species, we knew, forgot, and are having to relearn again. That actually, because of these 2025 sedentary lifestyles, actually the idea of being out and active is far better for us. Brad, did you want to ask anything else before we move on to the Would You Rathers?
Yeah, I mean, loads of things, but I don't want the show to take 3 hours. And I had some questions, but I feel like we've moved on. So I think one of the things that stuck out from just where you first started was about the kind of the physical ailments. And I thought, in a way, there's almost a positive in the sense that I think people are less worried about seeking out help for a physical ailment than they are about a mental health issue.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's almost like our body's unique backup system. It's like I've given you all these things, these signals, like you're not sleeping and we're having all of these horrible thoughts and all that, but you're ignoring me. So now I'm going to give you this
Yeah.
inflammation within your digestive system. What I'm quite curious as to what are some of the common things you see?
It can be behavioural as well. So, recently, I was working with a couple online, and I could tell on screen that the husband was depressed, and that was
Right.
not what they wanted to talk about. They wanted to talk about
Yeah.
the relationship was really having problems. They weren't really sure what they wanted it to be over. But one of the things that you say with depression, you'll take less care of yourself because you care less about yourself. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
won't speak to friends. You won't reach out. Your personal hygiene can suffer. Yeah. You used to go to the gym, you don't go. So there's actual, you behave differently because
Yeah.
you're feeling so hurt inside, but you'll just think, oh, well, everyone's a bit down at the moment, cost of living crisis, and people just soldier on until, like you're saying about your asthma, say, or people will have IBS, thyroid issues are really strong with stress because that's all in your neck and your hormones.
Right.
That's a real signal. Yes, mainly stomach issues or
Yeah.
headaches, migraines.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating, and it's so nice that that by getting to talk to all these different people through the podcast, we're kind of just finding out about all these great things that people are doing. It's no different tonight. This idea of big groups of you going out, and I think it's not just about connecting with nature. I think there's a big part of that, and I can't remember what it is. I know trees release something. That
Oxygen.
caused us to, yeah, all right. But they release something other than oxygen that actually triggers our brain to release opioids.
Yeah, it does,
And so there is a chemical thing there. But I think that you sort of tick in lots of boxes there with the connection with nature and the connection with other people. And I think the strength.
Also, sorry, what you were saying earlier, like shoulder to shoulder, there's so little pressure.
Yeah.
We'd have people that come to the walk who, tragically have lost children like weeks before.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they, it just helps them to have a group of people go, that they've never met. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
They might not even want to talk about that on the walk. The actual connection and the community is magic.
And I think there's something about being vulnerable with other humans that drives that deeper connection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When it's not all their bravado, that actually you are there and you are prepared to share some vulnerabilities. You do form these really strong bonds with people,
Really
don't you?
strong.
I think, Nibbo, we should go into some of the would you rathers because we've touched on some of them really nicely, I think.
Yeah,
Unless
absolutely.
you've got something else to add. Of course he has. Look at his little
No,
face. He's got about 10 more
Oh,
questions.
No, there are no more questions. It's just that Nicola has just put me in mind of something that, and we're not having a walk, and this revelation hasn't come to me. But I thought so. I'm divorced, and that all sort of started about 4 years ago. And I thought just the other day how I take more care over myself now. And not just because I'm single and might one day want to sort of date and that sort of stuff, but like how I will buy myself nicer clothes now and how I'll take more care. And looking back, I think I would never self-diagnose myself with depression per se, but I looking back, I think I could recognise that I had some of those symptoms of like, not really looking after myself that much, not concerning myself with myself, whereas that picture's very different now, and it's interesting to hear you say it, but that will lead us down a 45-minute rabbit hole. So Brad, Sorry. Do you want to explain what we do next? Because I haven't explained that bit to Nicola.
No, I'm glad you touched on that point, really, because it took all of my willpower not to make a joke about Matt having let himself go and all of those sorts of things, Nicola.
But
he's
in.
I know, it does. You look very smart. Very smart today. Right, so we're going to go into our Would You Rather section now, Nicola, and we find that actually these are quite good for just people having a slightly different approach. I think people generally quite like Would You Rather questions, and we throw some silly ones out there. There's always a bit of purpose in mind behind the silly ones, and sometimes we get some great, unexpected mental health conversations out of some of the most ridiculous ones we've had. We had one about a squirrel pinching someone's socks once, and we had a great conversation off the back of it. Yours aren't quite as extreme as that, but we're going to go into some Would You Rathers. We've got a few silly ones, and we've also got some quite serious ones, and it'd be great just to get your kind of thoughts and your experiences on all of these. The first one that I've got for you is a light-hearted one, to a degree. So my question is, would you rather not be able to go for a walk for a year, or not be able to use your phone and do all of those things that we do also conveniently now on our phones for 10 years?
Ooh. I don't think I could do without the walk.
Okay. And why is that?
Because I would feel trapped.
Okay.
I'd feel very trapped if I couldn't actually get out and walk. Yeah.
Brad, are you asking, is it smartphone? Can Nicola still make landline calls and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think we can explore so much through our phones now, can't we? That actually, and going back to the point I made about that, whatever the thing is, I can't remember that tree's release. I also know from some learning that I've done recently that that's why forest schools are becoming really popular, because actually there are so many, and we know there's so many benefits to being out in nature. But one of the things I discovered was that as well as being out in the trees and then releasing this thing that makes us feel really, really good, if we get back to schools and schools have moving images, so like we have on an interactive whiteboard of a virtual walk through the woods, our brain still releases about 50% of the opioids that it releases when we're actually out in nature. So I think we can experience so much of the world through our phone now, which sometimes probably stops people actually taking the risk to go and join a group like yours, because it's I can, if I'm anxious and I don't really want to go, I'll just do it on my phone. So that's where I was going down, and people rely on their phones so much for everything, don't they? But you're firmly on the stance of actually, no, it's more important that I get out and I walk and do all the things that you do with people.
Yeah, definitely, because I've say couples I've had with couples therapy, and the problem is one of them or both of them aren't looking up from their phones. Yeah. So you're not communicating, and I would go as far as to say, if you could, I actually went to a conference to actually detox from your phones, and the lady said as she comes in her door, her and her husband have a box, and they lock both their phones in a box by the front door, and then they will get their phones again when it's off to work. Because
it's a really positive step, isn't it?
And they say to stop using your phone as an alarm clock, because then that's the first thing that you're looking at, and then you're going to maybe see some bad news or your bank statement.
Yeah.
They're the same thing.
That's one and the same, yeah.
And who wants that first thing in the morning?
It's so true. That's so true. I always use my phone for my alarm, and invariably I'll be like, right, got to get up now. I'll just have a quick look though, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm rushing. It just sets the day up. Yeah, there's so much.
Basically, it's already eaten into your dopamine, because so really, even if you are using it for your alarm, you turn it straight over, leave it where it is, the idea is you go downstairs, or if you've got a flat or wherever you live, you go outside so you can set your circadian rhythm. And because as soon as you, and put off the TV if you can, the phones off, because that's basically eating away at your dopamine the second you look at your phone. So if you go straight on your phone in the morning, you are pretty much dampening your day.
What a fascinating thought. I mean, just to touch back, I knew I enjoyed having a dog, and that feels like he's unintentionally combating lots of those problems.
Yeah.
Because he is young, he needs letting out in the garden immediately, and he's got wise to it all. Sorry, this podcast isn't a show specifically about my dog, but he's wise to things, so he knows, like, I will try to open the conservatory door, put him out, and I'll stay inside, and they'll just stay there looking at the back door.
Yeah.
So I will then have to go out into the back garden, and be there, and then he'll go and use the toilet then. And the last 3 weeks, I have felt better than I have done in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm doing the walking as well and getting out, but that idea of, I am. I mean, it's only my back garden, but I am physically outside at the start of the day, and I can't lie in bed and doom scroll because of the noisy little terrier in the kitchen.
Honestly, I'm the longer you can put off even looking at your phone, the better in the morning. Because for me, with the hybrid working, I'm just not a fan. People are not getting together; they're not getting the physical contact. So if you're now going to go from your phone to your laptop and not leave the house all day because you work from home, how could we possibly feel okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also say to clients, because clients go, "Oh, I didn't actually, come off my laptop till 9:30 last night or 11," and then I will then say to a client, "Well, okay, when are you paid till? 5:30. Okay, well, why are you still on it at 9:30? Well, because there was things that I could still do. But if you'd have got on the train and everyone had left the office at 5:30 and you got on the train, you might not even have thought about work."
Yeah. I love. I think you've already given listeners loads of great takeaways. I'm not gonna go back over them because I'll get told off for peaking too soon, like I did the other day. But I just think that's one thing that is so good for everybody listening is those real tangible things that they can do, like not using your phone as alarm, like getting straight outside in the morning. I think that's great, brilliant.
Also, Matt, you're saying that you feel differently already.
Yes.
So say if somebody is going to work from home just on the hybrid thing, because I really feel strongly about this, is that I would say to a client, okay, right, so get up, get showered, leave your house as if you're going to work. Even if not going to buy a coffee, take one with you. Come back, sit at your desk. At lunchtime, get up, go out as if you were going to go out to lunch. Come back, and after the end of your day, when you shut your laptop, leave the house again. So you've literally got a virtual or pretend commute, shall we say, because we're really suffering as a nation. We are, because we're not doing what we need to stay mentally healthy.
I mean, I strongly agree, and I've been single for a little while, and I've used things like dating apps, and it's only really when you step backwards and have a look and think, hang on a minute, I could meet someone without leaving my house.
Yeah.
That, and I'm sure, I don't know, you would know far more about the neuroscience than I would, but I'm sure we're not programmed to work in that way, to have your phone and be like, oh, I've met someone, this is the person that I've met. Like, you're supposed to go out and socialize and be a social creature. And also, like, I have my kids here half the time, but when I'm living here on my own, you can feel just trapped inside your own head until I literally step outside the front door, and that goes away, instantly 100%. Goes away. Yeah, I strongly agree. Sorry, Brad, you were you're pushing on to the
No,
next takeaway.
I think it's good. I feel like it's very much a repeating pattern of conversation that we're seeing, which highlights the importance of it. I mean, only the other day, we talked about I'd been away camping and I absolutely loved it because of no reception. I just never had my phone out, and it was the best. It was just being in the outdoors. All connection was face to face. And I don't think we can say it enough, really, because you're right. I think so many of the problems that people are encountering link directly to this lack of connection that we have now with other humans. And we are designed to be in tribes. We do not do well in isolation. Right. And we kind of convince ourselves, kind of that more survival part of our brain convinces us that we're getting that through screens.
Yeah,
but we're not.
We're lucky because we're working from home and we can put a wash on while we're working. But I say to clients, okay, this is how you're working. Go back, I don't know, say 10 years then. And you're looking for a job on Indeed or whatever, and they say, "Oh, we've got a job for you. You won't have to get dressed. You're going to sit in your bedroom all day on your laptop, and you're going to work 8 hours a day from your bedroom." Are you applying? Probably not.
No way.
That's such a good way of framing it.
You're not applying for that job.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that's great. See, these would you rather's work. They're great, Nicola. Loads of great bits in there. Okay. My next would you rather is we're curious again because we've got you on the show as somebody who is very knowledgeable in your field, and we thought we might delve into around the sort of outskirts of this would you rather into some of that knowledge that you have in terms of psychotherapy and what you do. So my question is, would you rather be anxious or be depressed?
Anxious.
Okay. And why are you choosing anxious?
Anxious, I feel you can you've got a bit of a quicker way of maybe sorting that out. Maybe like go for a walk, phone a friend, maybe go to the gym or do some exercise. Depression is terrifying. That's what I've seen depression to be. And I think the depression is a very slippery slope. You're quickly into it. Coming out of it is hard work, and you need proper guidance, regularly, I would say medication. But yeah, anxiety, definitely.
I mean, I think that's useful because I think an awful lot of people, one of my bugbears is people misusing terms and working in special educational needs. You'll get a lot of people that say things like, not in my sphere, but it annoys me because of the sphere I work in. People that say, "Oh, I'm a bit autistic," and I kind of think to myself, "You're not."
No, you're just not.
You get a diagnosis. You might be quite particular, or you might have sort of quite rigid thinking, but don't water down autism by describing your particularness as being a bit autistic. The same with OCD. And I think you get the same with depression of people or even like this staff meeting is depressing me or this staff meeting's given me depression. And I think it's really insensitive because it diminishes the seriousness of those conditions. So I thought it was really lovely to hear you say, actually, depression is a really significant condition that you can't slip into and out of.
Oh no, you really can't. It takes work. It's like this guy, he had no idea he was depressed. He just thought he was mucking up his marriage. He felt it was mainly his fault, and I could just see he was depressed. People, and he's gone into medication. He probably has been on medication about a month, I'd say now, and he just says, "Thank you so much. You've saved my life. I wouldn't have been here."
That's lovely.
Wow.
He said that he said what the medication has done for him is taken the despair away. Well, I mean, wow.
Yeah. That's such a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Matt, you're right to highlight, I think both of those, anxiety and depression get banded around an awful lot.
Mm.
And again, can often be confused with actually it's okay, it's normal to worry about something and then that passes. But the two get confused. But again, I find it interesting that you're so strongly that actually that anxiety would be a better choice. And I guess that kind of relates to, an anxious mind is one that is very vigilant around threats, isn't it? So I guess because we've got that vigilance, we might be more empowered to think, actually, I'm really fed up with this, I need to go and do something about it. Whereas somebody who's struggling with depression, that's the whole, I'm going to hide in my cave and I'm going to stay in my cave and I'm safe here and I just hope things might change and there's got to be something really good for me to come out. It's difficult to pull yourself out of, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, funny enough, I put a post on my Instagram recently and I've got so many people sharing it, and that was like, oh, you're just like that. Oh, I'm a bit autistic. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh,
Yes,
oh,
yes.
you're so OCD. And
I think I shared that.
I shared that.
I think I shared it from your
Oh,
post.
did you? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've just had so many people say, oh, I'm so sick of this. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I am always doing the housework because I'm so OCD. No. You're not OCD because you like tidying up.
And we develop so many bad habits, don't we? Again, I guess I'm thinking back down to the phone thing, but I notice I spend so much more time on my phone when I haven't got that human connection. If I've got my little boy with me, I don't need to be on my phone because I'm with him and it's all about what we're doing. If I'm with friends or partner, I'm not interested in my phone because I'm with them. But if I'm just on my own, like, God, I watched some crap on there, and it really registered with me the other day. I was like, you are missing connection here, and you're trying to find it on your phone, and it's not giving me anything that I needed.
That's so true.
I think, I think Matt might have a question.
Right, so this is not a question. This is from my own personal experience. And Brad, you've hit the nail on the head, but I don't know that you recognise that you hit the nail on the head. So you're missing, I feel as if, when I've experienced that, I've been missing human connection. But what I feel as if is that I can backfill that void with any type of connection. So if I'm missing human connection, instead of going on my phone, I can go outside and get connection with the natural world, or I can journal and I can get connection with my past, or I can. There's lots of other types of connection other than just human connection. So if you're I don't know if you'll say, Nicola, this is all nonsense, you're imagining it, Matt, but what I've felt in the past is I've noticed myself pick up my phone when I'm missing human connection, but then I'll force myself out for a walk, connect with the natural world, and maybe not see another human, but I feel like that connection hole has been filled because I've connected with something rather than someone.
You've gone out and you feel part of the world. You feel part of something bigger.
Yeah. So that's what I would say, Brad. It's not necessarily that you're looking for human connection via the virtual world. Just get any sort of connection, and you'll feel more connected.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's all good, isn't it? It's all good advice on this show.
So good. Brad, I can't wait to hear the answer because I know what the third "would you rather" question is, and I'm now even more interested to hear what Nicola's going to say.
Yeah. So, final one, Nicola. Would you rather have a pill that you take that masks any sort of anxiety and depression, or that there are no pills to mask that, but talking therapy is available to everybody?
Well, there's a bit of both there, because talking therapy is, we would say, if somebody wasn't okay, we would give them a medication, lift them up, and then work with it, the talking.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. Because
that's the nature of this beast.
There's some people, there are regular clients that I would say they need both. They couldn't, the talking isn't enough.
Do you have an opinion on, and I'm going to try not to lead you down a particular avenue here,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an opinion on GP practices and what I would just describe as their readiness to offer medication over talking therapies?
No, not really. Well, to be honest, I used to work for the NHS. That's where I started. They were great actually. Then they would say, right, okay, the GPs that I work with would say, right, okay, well, let's see how you go. Let's give you the talking therapy. We would try and encourage people into exercise, like an exercise plan, and then within give them 2 weeks, if they still felt as low as they did, then they will come back and we will give them an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety med. Over 70% of people didn't come back.
That's the thing.
Wow.
Brad, we've missed a trick. Never mind talking therapies and medication. It's about getting outside and being active.
Yeah. So, but there are people that are, for instance, I had one guy that came to me and he was splitting up with his partner, and I said, have you ever thought, and his anxiety was so bad, he was actually vibrating. I could hear it. It was like a hum. And I said to him, have you ever thought about, and he's like, oh, no, don't want no medication for me. Would you just speak to your GP? Would you just tell your GP what you've told me? Yeah. So that's sort of how I sort of gently try to encourage people. So he then came back and said, yeah, my GP has given me sertraline for general anxiety disorder. This guy hadn't slept for 6 days.
Oh,
wow.
He was in a bad way. And he said that, again, it saved his life. But he also said it's as if somebody had gone into his brain with an ice cream scoop and scooped out all the voices that were telling him he wasn't good enough, he was never going to be anything, panic, as if it had been scooped out. And the medication had done that alongside the talking therapy.
Yeah. And I think that is, you're right to highlight that actually there are people that need both elements. There are people that will lean one way rather than the other. And again, I guess it comes down to the stigma around it as well, because, if we get a physical injury and you go to the doctors and they say, okay, you're going to need to take this, they'll still say, some crazy drug that I can't pronounce. But you just go, yeah, okay, cool, I'll take that because the problem will go away. But so many people have that, like you did. You mentioned antidepressants, and it's like, oh no, I'm not. Like it's a weakness, isn't it? And
there's a few things that I see. I see that people will go on a medication, everything's now starting feeling great, and they're like, oh, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
That's me with my asthma medication.
There's a reason it's been going well, guys. So and then they go crash. I don't know what happened there. Did you carry on with your medication? No, because I felt better. No, the two were working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I say to people as well, and they're saying, oh no, don't start trying to say that I need medication. And I say, well, basically, all over the world, there are scientists putting tiny little atoms together to make these amazing medication that can actually make you feel better about life and help your, if they've had a really harsh childhood, shall we say, and they're so stuck in their fight, flight and freeze that they literally can't think their way out of anything. But there's like mood stabilizers. There's some incredible medication out there that, for me, it's sad when people will say, no, I'm not touching medication. But why? We're steps ahead all the time with better and better medication. And
I can absolutely echo that in terms of somebody who has had years of experience of working in special educational needs and education in general, where in the past I've had children who have a diagnosis of a medicatable condition, something like ADHD, and parents who are reluctant to allow that child to have medication or will medicate that child sporadically And you can see the difference, and you can see how much learning and how much progress that child can make when they're medicated versus when they're not medicated.
Yeah.
And it's almost painful to observe sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is interesting, isn't it? And I think because I think there is a bit of in sort of Western society, we are a little bit of a culture of people want a quick fix, and I think often people will choose whatever the quickest route there is. But yeah, I think it's important to recognise, certainly when I speak to people, hypnotherapy clients, and they're like, teetering on the edge, like, do I, don't I? I'm like, look, it's all part of the process. If this allows you to get to a place where actually you can talk more openly and you can engage in these sorts of things, then yeah, do it. There's no shame to it, and yet there seems to be shame and guilt attached to it. And I don't mind saying it's kind of the purpose of the pod. A few years ago, when I was really struggling with loads and loads of different things all landing at me at once, I went to the GP and they prescribed sertraline, and I took it for a period of time just while I was weathering the storm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think again, the more we speak about it, the more it gets rid of some of the stigmas attached to it, which is again another kind of key area of this podcast. It's like, yeah, we can talk about it. We can.
And I just think, so you're a diabetic, yeah, but you're going to say, do you know what? I'm fine. I don't need it. I don't need the medication. Or you have high blood pressure. No, leave that. I don't want that. You're not going to do that, are you? Yeah. You're going to go, yes, please. Yeah. Can I have my prescription, please, on repeat, if you don't mind.
And something I think people don't realise is that, let's say high cholesterol, because that can present like surprise risk. Like you might not get warning signs. You may suddenly have a heart attack. Exactly. And I think one of the misconceptions around mental ill health is that can also be sudden, and you can end up in a mental health crisis very quickly and very suddenly, and you may not see the warning signs of that coming along at the same time. So actually, why wouldn't you protect against that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll let you sit on the fence on that one, because I think you're right. If somebody broke their leg, they would be prescribed medication to manage the pain and maybe help boost kind of repair, and they would do physio. They would do both things, wouldn't they? And if actually somebody is struggling with their mental health and, there is medication available, and there are also, great psychotherapists like yourself and various other different therapists, then why wouldn't you do both? And get yourself back on track as quickly as you can in a place where actually you're not likely to fall back down the hole again, because you've done all of the things you need to be in a good place.
Exactly, because if you do the two together, other clients say to me over the years, God, I'm back. I'm literally back. I've not felt me for, and I can say to a client, how many years? Couldn't even tell you, but I'm back.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
That was one of the warmest moments of one of the recent episodes. I'm talking a lot about previous episodes tonight.
I'm not offended. It's fine.
We had a guy called Sam on who had he detailed some of his mental health journey on the episode that he was with us, and he said to his dad on a family holiday that he felt like he'd only just arrived and he'd only just started to be who he was on this planet, and he was 20, 21 years old at the time. Yeah. And his dad said, no. You are now exactly who you were at the age of 10. We just lost you. Between 10 and now,
wow,
we lost you. And it feels like it doesn't feel like this is the first time you're here to us. It feels like you are back. And I loved hearing that. I thought it was such a reassuring statement.
Well, that is all the would you rathers.
Ow.
Yeah, that's that bit done. Nicola, we got two more very quick rounds. You get the opportunity to meet two alternate versions of yourself. You get to meet 8-year-old you and 80-year-old you, but you only get a minute with each one. 8-year-old you can tell them whatever you want to tell them, and 80-year-old you can ask them whatever you want to ask them. So 8-year-old you comes skipping into the room. You've got a minute. You can tell her, you can give her the benefit of your life advice if you want, or you can just say, make sure you pick your feet up when you're skipping. Like, can be whatever you like.
Right, so 8-year-old me, I would say you are enough. You are a lovely little girl. You deserve to be loved and accept love wherever you can get it.
That's lovely. I wonder if, do you think children in general find it difficult to accept love?
I think this happens to me regularly. It's funny that you've said 8, because if I say to a client and they're struggling with something in the present, I will say to them, right, close your eyes, hold your chest, and what is this triggering? How old were you? And 9 times out of 10 people say, I think I was about 8.
Oh, wow.
I think it was about 8 when it happened. And where I work with clients is I go, you need to say to yourself, I don't live there anymore. I'm a grown-up. But what's going on around them, they're getting triggered to an 8-year-old feeling.
And would they use that as a mantra then going forward, like as a conscious practice of saying, I don't live there anymore, I'm a grown-up? Or is it a one-time, one and done?
Oh, no, regularly. No, it's so powerful. Because if you can have a trigger that that was when, like, for instance, I had a client the other day and he was saying to me, I feel like I'm really, making a nuisance of myself because I keep phoning this person and they're not answering. Do you think I'm embarrassing myself? So I said, okay, when have you felt a nuisance before? When? Because you're not being a nuisance, but when have you felt a nuisance before? And he went back to 11 or 12. He went, oh my God, now I know. It was when these kids wouldn't let me in the football team and I kept pestering them. They were telling me to go away. So it's memories of childhood that we bring into our adulthood.
Yeah.
If we can just go, I don't live there anymore. It's so powerful.
That does sound powerful.
That is. It's so interesting what people carry around their whole life with them, isn't it?
Things that people carry around with them their whole life until their path crosses with a psychotherapist who helps them to unlock a lot of that. Anyway, 8-year-old Nicola has disappeared, knowing that she is enough and that she deserves love. And 80-year-old Nicola has entered the room, and you get to ask her anything you want to ask her, but you've only got a minute.
I want to ask her something. So I'm going to ask her, do you think you made the best of what you had?
What do I like about that? Do you think that what she had was enough? Was too much?
Well, I would hope she is still having a gin and tonic. And
Lemon or lime?
Either really, I don't mind. Lemon.
As long as the gin's
and having the crap with her mates in
Lovely.
In the retirement village.
And what do you think she would answer if you asked her, are you happy with what you've done with what you had? What if you had to forecast her answer? What would you guess that would be?
I think she'd be really proud of me, and what the stuff that I've got through myself, and what I've done for work.
I nearly asked you the ultimate psychotherapist question then and said, and how does that make you feel? But how would that make you feel if to know that 80-year-old you is proud of what you've achieved, and you've achieved a lot, obviously.
Yeah, great. I mean, I would liken it because I suppose in a way I lost my dad how many years ago? 7 years ago, and we were really close, like best friends. And I know a lot of things that I would do now, I will think he'd love that. He'd have been on those walks with me. He would, love to see the work that I'm doing. So for me, it's sort of a bit of a reminder. Don't, I say to my kids, they'll say to me, do you think I should? Yeah, I do. And I probably haven't even finished yet. Yeah, definitely go for it. And my daughter's travelled all around the world. She's dived with sharks. She's done all the things, because I'm never going to say, oh, no, I don't think you should do that. I'm like, no, go for it, guys, do it.
My guilty confession is that I couldn't find my notebook to keep any notes for this evening. So I grabbed an old diary that was just hanging around. I've opened it on the year planner page, and I'm just scribbling all over that. But there's a quote at the top of it which says, "Never say no to adventures. Always say yes. Otherwise, you'll lead a very dull life." And that was Ian Fleming.
Wow.
And it couldn't be more appropriate for what you've just said about, Mum, should I? Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Do it. Oh, no, my daughter laughs about it. She says, I don't know why I'm asking you, because you're going to tell me I should be doing it. So, yeah.
It's so good, though, because, again, I think a lot in the world today, we're not encouraging our kids. I think lots of people, because of their own anxiety, we then project that down. Oh, well, I don't know. Have you thought about that? Sounds a bit dangerous. I think it's so refreshing to hear somebody just go, yeah. I don't even know what you're going to say yet, but yes, you should do it.
Get me into a lot of trouble, actually, because I just say yes to them. But yeah, no, I'm just, if anyone will say, my friends laugh and they say, well, I don't know why I'm asking you, Nick, because you're going to tell me to go for it. So, well, obviously, I'm going to say.
Sound like a good friend to have.
I'm saying,
the friend that says,
definitely.
Do it.
That's how I got into being a psychotherapist, because when I just had my daughter was 2, and my best friend at the time, I said, I need to go and do an evening class. I don't know what to do. I said, my mum wants me to do flower arranging with her. She said, oh, no. She said, you're not going to do flower arranging. She said, you've got to be a counsellor. She said, because you are our counsellor. We all come to you and we all say to each other, oh, no, I can't work it out. Go and see Nick. She'll have a solution for you, or she'll give you some good advice. So it was literally through my best friend. She would not have it. She's like, no, that's what you're doing.
Oh, lovely.
That's cool.
What a lovely story this is. We need to round this up, Nicola, and what we always do at the very end is we give our takeaways from the conversation. So any kind of key lesson or key theme, something that you think is a tangible takeaway that you would say, this is, I mean, I know this has all been your knowledge and wisdom anyway. So Brad and I will give ours, and then if there's anything that you think, actually, I thought this part of the conversation was important, then absolutely we can do that. Brad, have you got one ready, or do you want me to?
Well, when you say one,
there's never one, is there, Brad?
I've got so many. I think we've covered so many great things for people just to take away and do.
Hang on a minute, then. Can I do mine? Because if you're going to do 13, you're going to steal mine.
Go on, you do yours, and I'll fill in any space that's left.
Okay. Mine is it's a load of different words that don't actually make a sentence, but I've kind of scribbled them down. But I've said numerous times in the past, if you're not prioritizing your own happiness, what on earth are you doing? What is the point in anything if it's not about making you happy? And I'm referencing that in terms of what you were talking about with phones putting our dopamine levels in debt, even at the start of the day. And whilst I appreciate for people, including myself, that might be a difficult habit to get out of, if you're not consciously working to get out of that habit, well, you're not working towards your own happiness.
No.
What else do you want other than happiness? What else does anybody want other than happiness?
Yeah.
And actually, the key message for me there is prioritize your own happiness in whatever way you can. And if that includes getting rid of your phone out of your life as much as possible, then I think that's a good way to work towards your own happiness. This is a whole other podcast. I sometimes think people aren't ready to be as happy as they could be, but that's a whole other. That's 2 hours more. But that's my singular takeaway, that I thought it was really not refreshing, maybe revolutionary to hear the way you described it as like putting yourself in a dopamine debt that you've now got to repay that later in the day. So yeah, that's my key takeaway. Is that
Yeah,
some of your takeaways, Brad?
Yeah, I really like that. I feel like I'm a bit on my high horse around phones and social media at the minute, but I just see it lead into so many problems, and I think you just you gave us so many great tips within the episode about even just put it in a box and just forget about it, and just getting up first thing in the morning and going outside. I'm definitely going to do that tomorrow because I've got to work online all day tomorrow. So I'm going to do all of your tips. I'm going to be out first thing. I'm going to walk and all my breaks and all of that stuff because I love I believe very strongly in the power of connection and definitely of connection of human people. But as Matt said as well, it doesn't have to be, I think, a big believer in just connecting with nature. For me down here, it's the beaches and the ocean and all of that stuff. But connection, I think, is really powerful. But I'm going to jump on the thing that you said right at the end, because I don't think people do it enough, and especially relating it to our older selves. Like, we are here once on this planet, and we do, like you said, Matt, we need to prioritize things that make us happy, because we're not going to get another crack at it. And so I actually think the thing to take away is that whole, do you think I should? Yes. I just think that if you're thinking it, and whatever it's about, if it's about a relationship, if it's about a career change, if it's about getting a dog, whatever it is, if you're thinking about it, maybe just do it and stop giving yourself excuses and reasons as to why not to. Because if it's going to prioritize your happiness, like you said, just do it. Just do it and get out there. I think it's a lovely attitude to have.
Oh, we're going to get in so much trouble, Brad, when people will be like,
I know.
I got my sod off tattoo on my forehead.
Podcast, now they've come home with a dog.
We'll shift it on to Nicola.
A dog anyway. There's a lot of dog sales are going to be going up. I need a dog.
I tell you what, though, in the grand scheme of things, if we could say to most parents, would you swap your kid's smartphone for a dog? I would put money on saying the majority would say yes to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Get them off their phones.
But do they really? But would they actually get a dog? They would say yes, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, true.
But then would they actually go out and do it? I think they'd maybe plump for the quiet life and be like, no, you can stay on the iPad, it's fine. Anyway, Nicola, was there anything that you thought was a really key part of the conversation that you'd really like to remind our listeners of?
I think to really be aware of how you're feeling, and when we can tend to sort of soak up the energies of other people around us. But I think it's trying to centre yourself and just think, right, am I okay though? Like, maybe my partner seems a bit depressed or my children aren't okay, but am I okay? What do I need to do? So if you it's the actual connection with the outside world that I feel really strongly about. So to give you an example, I was thinking, I do go to the gym, but it's a big gym and I don't really know anyone at the gym. What do I get from the gym? Do I do something else? Yeah, save on my membership. But I went to the gym today and I thought, no, by even not talking to anyone else here, I feel part of the world. I feel connected, and I could pretty much say I came away feeling better, not just because of the exercise, probably more from the connection.
Yes.
Even the odd smile, or just chat with someone who's serving you the coffee. My fear is for us in the world is we're getting too used to just being online and forgetting how to be nice to each other.
And one of the pieces of learning that we've had from the podcast previously from a young guy that works in a gym was that there are a number of people in the gym who are there to work on their mental health rather than their physical health. Definitely. And the physical health is a side benefit. They are there to feel better rather than to look better or perform better, which I think that's easily forgotten until you stop and really think and register.
Yeah, it is easily
That may well
forgotten.
be
It's
what's going
true.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think we really underestimate that point you made as well, because sometimes it is just about sharing a smile with somebody or just having that very brief interaction. Like, we don't need to go and tell them our life story, but even just those little nuggets of connection are helpful, aren't they? And just kind of put you walk past somebody and get a nice smile. You just think, oh, that's nice. Restores a bit of faith in humanity, doesn't it? I think a lot of the time.
You could walk down the road and just say good morning to somebody, that might be the only person they speak to all day. You've got no idea.
Yeah.
You can make someone's day just by morning, how are you? Or talk about the weather because we're so English,
Lovely weather we're having, yeah. Yeah, of course. Brad, I think we need to say a massive thank you to Nicola. This has been eye-opening and really put a spotlight on what psychotherapy is, and I hopefully demystified it for some of our listeners. So, Nicola, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Me. It was lovely. Thank you.
We asked the right person because you've given us a wonderful insight. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and I absolutely know our listeners will appreciate it as well.
Oh, good. Great. Pleased to hear it.
Thank you so much, Nicola. It was lovely to meet you.
All right. Bye, guys. Speak soon, yeah?
What an incredible episode, because one of the key themes was connection with loads of different aspects of ourselves and the world outside of ourselves that can help us to feel better. But also, there were loads of accidental connections to previous episodes. It was like a hub that actually linked. Maybe that's what you get with really knowledgeable professional people, that actually they draw in and make sense of all those other practitioners and people that we've spoken to and actually frame that in a really logical and straightforward way. Maybe that's what this has been.
Yeah, I just think it was another great episode. It's great to point out, if you've not listened to any of our other episodes, there's loads of good stuff out there. So just follow us on Instagram or Facebook to keep up to date. All our stuff's available on Spotify, Amazon Music, and in other places as well. But yeah, great episode. Thanks so much to Nicola for coming on. We've just spent just over an hour on our screens. We're going to go get off them now. We're going to leave our phones here. We're both off to walk our dogs. We'll see you next time.
Come on, boy.
I see what you did there.
Isn't that clever? Isn't that clever?